Hi.
Oop.
Hey, I think for California law, we have to inform all of you that you're being recorded on no funny business.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
Laddie.
Hello.
William.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, yeah.
Oops. Where did I go?
Sam and Jocelyn.
Thanks for grabbing and have your toast. Yeah. So let's get
Gilly
it.
on the line, Sam, Brody, Carrie, Joey, Connor. Welcome, everyone.
Gary. It's great to see you.
Cheers, all.
Great to see you practicing the mask.
Yeah, sorry I'm on Mountain Time, so I'm still at work.
Oh, no problem.
Impressive.
We won't report you.
Your hour might be less happy than the rest of us, but we're glad you joined.
If you're going to do this.
All right, guys. And as you join, we're just waiting a couple minutes for more people to hop on. But as you join, feel free to go off mute and say hello if you'd like. And then please promptly go back on mute so that once we get started, we have minimal background noise.
Just showing off our Puente gear.
Oh, there we go.
Hi, Hope.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I like your glasses.
Thank you. Where are you right now?
I'm in DC,
DC? You in DC?
our lovely nation's capital.
It's going to be an interesting 2 weeks to be there.
Yes, it is already an interesting week to be here now. So.
Yeah. We scheduled this for tonight, assuming that everyone would want to pregame the debate a little bit. I think a beverage or two might help. So.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
Just gonna wait 1 or 2 more minutes here, but welcome to all the new people who joined. I see my grandparents on the line now, as well as Scott's dad.
Hey, Chooch.
Chooch, looking good, man.
And Mrs. Juge.
She's going to get you for that, Paul.
I know, I should have gone with the real name.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure some people are still going to be joining, but why don't we get started at least with some introductions and kick things off. And then as more people join, they'll just hop straight into the fun part. So first of all, thank you all so much for joining. We really can't tell you how honored we are that you'd all take time to hang out with us a little bit and learn a little bit more about our work. Something that will come up throughout this call but needs to be reinforced up front is that all of you on this call are the ones who've made this possible. Your support has taken us a long way, and we feel like we have a lot more ground to cover and a lot more impact to make. So your continued support will be very helpful with that. And if you missed the announcement earlier, we actually do have a donation match underway today. So if you're feeling generous, please feel free to contribute during the call, and we can post the donation link in the chat. Otherwise, the format for this is going to be pretty light, conversational. We have some rehearsed material that we will go through. And then at the end, we're going to open it up for Q&A. And along the way, we're going to do some trivia, some roulette, and beware ahead of time that if you spin the wheel, you could win a prize or you could get a punishment. So it's a little bit of risk reward, but please, once we get to the trivia section, just weigh in with answers in the chat. Whoever gets the answer right first will be the lucky either winner or loser, depending on how the luck breaks your way. So with that said, we're going to start with a little bit of history of points. Well, actually, we're going to start with some introductions for the team here. So I will turn it over to Scott and Tiven, coming in live from Constanza to kick us off.
Thank you, Paul. So sorry if everyone can't hear me very well. This internet tends to be choppy, but As Paul said, if you don't know me, my name's Scott. I'm one of Puente's co-founders and our executive director. I joined Peace Corps Dominican Republic in 2015 to 2017, where I served as a health volunteer in Constanza. I obviously loved it so much, I haven't left Constanza. And so I've been here for a full 5 years now, but I don't think anyone would guess that if you listen to my Spanish. Well, sorry, there's a motorcycle outside, but yeah, it hasn't improved drastically. And so for one of the embarrassing moments in country, you know, I have plenty, to be honest. But one of the funnier times in sight was about 4 months into my service. As it was getting dark outside, I hear a knock on my door, and it was a lady that I've never seen before with a blonde hair, blue-eyed baby. And she just looked at me and said, "Hey, this is your baby. Look at it. It looks just like you." And I continued to assure her this was physically impossible. I've been here for 4 months. I don't know anyone, and I don't know you. This child can't be mine. I don't even have blue eyes, right? Like, this isn't my child. But regardless, she gave me the baby and walked away. And I laughed it off. I thought she'd be back in 10 seconds, you know, and it was a good joke. But, you know, 10 minutes later, I still have this 1 or 2 year old child in my arms. And so I didn't know what to do. And I gave him to my doña, who lived right next door. And I went out trying to find his mom, right? I just knocked on doors saying, have you seen a blonde haired baby? Do you know where he lives? And eventually they pointed me in the right direction, but I never found his mom. And so I returned back to my doña's house thinking I was going to be a father. I was mentally preparing myself for fatherhood. But, you know, luckily a couple hours later, she came back and got her baby, and she just thanked me for taking care of him. And it was quite literally absurd, a very stressful 2 hours. But, you know, that was one of the most, absurd stories. But, you know, as Paul said, thank you all for joining us today. We're really excited to share about our work and a little bit more about ourselves. You know, we have more embarrassing stories if you want to hear them later. But thank you all.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. Cheers to everyone who's participating in the happy hour. I'm Puente's director of WASH, and WASH is Water, Sanitation, and Hygiene. I was also a Peace Corps volunteer, but I was in the education sector. I lived in a remote village without access to water, so I alternated between collecting rainwater off my roof in the rainy season, and then bathing in the river during the dry season. And so in my second year as a Peace Corps volunteer, I actually pursued a water project to water access to this village. And so that's what led me to pursue a career in engineering. So I went back and got a degree in environmental engineering from UC Davis. And now for my most embarrassing story is the only time in country here, is the only time that I had a surgery in country. So on the back of my heel, I had 3 warts that kind of grew together to become a super wart. And so I went to the Capitol to get it removed. And after the surgery, the doctor, you know, kind of cut a part of my heel, you know, off. And he said, you know, that was a little bit deeper and a little bit bigger than he had originally thought. So I was very glad the surgery was over, and I still had the effects of the anesthesia. And of course, being a poor Peace Corps volunteer at the time, I decided to forego paying for the taxi and thought it'd be better to just walk back to the Peace Corps hotel. But about halfway through on the walk home, the anesthesia wore off. And that's when I realized that after a foot surgery, it's not recommended to walk home as your mode of transportation. But later that evening, I found myself laying in the hotel lobby, and I couldn't stop the bleeding. And so the night security guard at the hotel was performing first aid and trying to stop the bleeding. And at the same time, I was on a FaceTime call with my mom. And needless to say, she was not very pleased with the situation. And she was about ready to buy a plane ticket to come out the next day. But in the end, thankfully, everything healed okay. So, you know, I'm super thankful to be back here in the DR and working for Puente. And I got to give a shout out to my mom who's on the call tonight too. Thank you, Mom. And I told her in order to come here that I would not be getting any more surgeries in country. So today, Mom, no more surgeries. I'm doing well.
I also promise you the same, Mom. No surgeries.
Cool. Well, I'll go here. So my name is Hope Tambala. I'm the CTO and software engineer at Puente. I did Peace Corps as well in the Dominican Republic. from the 2015 to 2017 in the health sector. Similar things to what Scott was doing, family health, nutrition, sexual health training with teens, and environmental health work. And actually, Peace Corps was something that I was passionate about doing for a brief time in college. And it was also really a step to what I was going to do, which was medical school after Peace Corps, which is clearly not what I'm doing now. Yeah, that's kind of, Peace Corps is kind of like, invigorated me to learn how to code. And, there's a story about how I really did learn how to code later. But yeah, if I'm going to tell my embarrassing story, there's really too many, and most of them are inappropriate. So I'll tell the most appropriate one here, which is still a little edgy. So the first time I'd ever been on a plane before was to the Dominican Republic. I had never really understood how airplanes worked or anything. And my first trip to outside of the country was Dominican Republic, and I really didn't understand how things worked outside of America. I just assumed things were different everywhere. And so one of the biggest things that I kept doing when I moved first into my host family's house in the capital in the first 2 weeks was with a toilet in the Dominican Republic, you're supposed to get a big bucket, dump the water into the bucket to flush what's going on. And it just wouldn't work. And I didn't understand why it didn't work. And I didn't understand what to do. I was very confused. And so frankly, for a week, I would use the bathroom and just leave it there. just leave it there because I didn't know what to do. And I was too embarrassed to ask how to flush this toilet. And I had very limited Spanish. After a week, my host mom, trying to save a face was like, you can flush the toilet, right, with, a bucket of water and, put it in there and, do it yourself. Because she thought I was just purposely not doing it. Little did she know, I didn't know how. So, yeah, that's a little lesson that I learned after a decent amount of time.
Wow. Thank you guys for the wonderful stories there. I guess it's probably only fair if I go as well. Luckily, when I moved to the Dominican Republic a couple years ago, I was not a Peace Corps volunteer, and I was able to go under Scott's wing and avoid some of the craziness that these guys just described. But one pretty embarrassing story I encountered. So my Spanish was non-existent when I moved to the DR. And in my first month or two there, I was out somewhere, and a girl approaches me and starts talking to me. And I'm pretty excited about that. It's not a common occurrence for me. So, so I'm trying my best to understand what she's saying and keep up a conversation and flirt a little bit. And, a couple minutes into the conversation, she points at my phone like she wants to see it. And I'm like, all right, absolutely. I'm getting a number. Unlock the phone, hand it to her. She does some stuff in it, hands it back to me. And I, walked back to Scott and Crease and said, wow, that was awesome. I don't know what this girl said, but I think she likes me. She gave me her phone number, and found out shortly thereafter that she was actually trying to use my phone to call her boyfriend. And she had put in her boyfriend's number to the phone. So it was kind of the exact opposite of what I thought that situation was going to turn out as. But yeah, we've all had plenty of interesting experiences being down in the DR, and like Scott said, we're happy to keep going through those in Q&A. But I think, before we get into that, we should get into some of the more serious and interesting stuff. And before we get into the more serious and interesting stuff, how about a little bit of trivia? So in the chat window for this call, you can submit responses when we ask a question. And the first person who responds to this is going to have a chance to spin the roulette wheel and either win a prize or accept a punishment, which, if you don't want to accept the punishments, there's nothing we can do to force you into it. But anyways, the first trivia question, get your fingers ready to type. How many Puente team members were formerly Peace Corps volunteers? Oh, we've got a winner. So, Kathy David, if you can hear me,
I can
great guess. She's correct. We actually have 4 returned Peace Corps volunteers on the team. You just met 3 of them. And Carly Pablos has also recently come on board and has been doing an unbelievable job helping us apply for grants and create some content. So Carly, I don't know if you're actually on the call, but shout out to Carly. Hey, there she is. So that's our 4th PCV right there.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I've been working with One Day for like 3 months now. I did not prepare an embarrassing Peace Corps story, so I am thinking of plenty, but maybe I will. I'll have a few more sips of the cider before we broach that topic.
Perfect. Save it for Q&A. All right, and that means Hope? I think you're running the roulette wheel, right?
Let's do it.
So Kathy, stay tuned to see what the gift is here.
Okay. All right, can you guys see that?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Okay. Win a framed and signed photo of Ernie. Okay, I can dig it.
You won the grand prize right off the bat.
That is exciting. I was admiring the picture behind you because I know the story of it, but I think a picture of Ernie would be the perfect background for all the Zoom calls I have.
He will sign it and seal it with love, and we'll have it delivered to you shortly.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, awesome. And good to see you, Kathy. All right. Well, with all that out of the way, let's get into some of the more interesting stuff here. And I want to start with a little bit of the background on how Puente came to be. Most of you have probably heard the story, in some summarized format along the way, but there are a few interesting details that we don't talk about that much that we wanted to get into here. To start, I'm going to let Scott kick us off because it was really the needs that him and Hope and some of the other team members realized as Peace Corps volunteers that drove us to get this started. So I want to hear it from the horse's mouth here and let him talk about that experience.
I won't be offended by that, Paul, the horse's mouth. So to keep it brief, as Peace Corps volunteers, we had to collect community diagnostics data to see where we'd focus our efforts for the next 2 years. And all of this was done with pencil and paper. And honestly, it took us weeks to conduct, especially with my terrible Spanish. They would tell me a name, and I don't know if I spelled anyone's name right. But so I would do all of this on pen and paper, and I was trying to also map out the community at the same time. So I was trying to, map out a community with these little callejones, these little streets that you don't even know how to navigate. And it was virtually impossible. It was a very frustrating experience. And to top it all off, I lost half of my data just because I had a leaky roof, and all of the rainwater was coming in right on the stack of my papers, right? So I had 200 plus data points that I just couldn't even use, and it was extremely frustrating. And we realized quickly that we weren't the only ones using pencil and paper in development. We worked with dozens of medical missions and international development groups, and the vast majority were using these outdated methods. Without recording information, you don't have actionable data, and without actionable data, you can't have a real plan. And let's say you did have a real plan and it was, effective. It's really hard to sell the donors and those stakeholders because it's hard to compare your intended outcomes versus the actual outcomes. And so, that was one of the huge needs that we saw. And at the same time, a lot of the work we were doing as volunteers could have easily been done by host country nationals, right? The people that live there, the people that know the community better than us. So we had a great, if we were given these host country nationals the same resources we were given as volunteers, these training manuals, these great training sessions that took a couple days in the Capitol, these great opportunities through like-minded organizations and a huge network of, like-minded people trying to achieve a same goal. We thought it'd be very powerful. And unfortunately, the vast majority of this network as volunteers was comprised of Americans. And we saw a major problem with this, because like we always say, who knows the community better than its residents? And so that's why we created a two-pronged solution. In the first one, which I'll dive into, is that community development training program, which I'm sure you guys all know a lot about, but it's 4 to 5 weeks, and it's a very intensive class where we teach host country nationals sustainable development goals, set forth by United Nations and how to address them sustainably, right? So they last decades and not just a couple months. And they're not these short interventions that don't have that lasting impact. And so we take a lot of time and a lot of effort to put a lot of these resources in the hands of people that are impacted by these situations the most. And then the second prong, which I'll turn it over to Hope to talk about, is our mobile data collection platform.
Sweet, thank you, Scott. So I'll take over the screen really quickly here. And so the biggest thing that Scott said right there was that there was no connections between those in need with those who wanted to help, and no data to connect the two, right? And so Puente, we realized that we don't really need the internet, we need passionate people to figure out the solution, right? And so our first solution was to use another company's app to collect data. And you can see by the emoji there, it wasn't really the best situation. It was very expensive. It required internet quite a bit of the time. It wasn't user friendly. And Dominicans didn't really know how to use it. We're the people who are trying to use this information. And so we basically took another take, and we took power, into our own hands by learning how to create an application. So something that I had to do during our Peace Corps service was kind of learn how to code, which was very interesting in an area where you don't really have electricity or internet regularly, right? So I would go to the nearest municipality and download textbooks at an internet cafe. People would often be like, "Man, you've been here for a decent amount of time just sitting here waiting by your phone." And I would tell people, "Yeah, I'm downloading a textbook to learn how to code." And people just thought I was a crazy gringo. But I would, download that textbook on my phone, go back to my village, download that textbook from my phone to my computer with Bluetooth, and then practice how to code on my computer. And that took a decent amount of time, but we were able to get, on the ground, running. And then the next thing we had to do was really learn how to improve the application. So it's just not, the first thing, learning to code is just one step. Actually making something that people want to use is another one, right? And so we had to do a lot of working with Dominicans to make sure the application worked well for them. And then collect data so that we could figure out those solutions. And then within this take two, we also had to learn how to innovate, which I will talk about a little bit later. So basically the solution was, how do we turn a super fragmented system like this, where NGOs and nonprofits are collecting data for themselves on pen and paper without any sort of centralized system to actually, gain insights, into a system that is centralized, connecting people, and built for Dominicans, right? And so our process is super quick, it's super easy. We collect data, we analyze it, we devise solutions with our communities, and we execute on a co-created vision. This version of our application, which is the current version, allows us to collect data in a centralized location and is built to be very usable and friendly for Dominican users. We also created a software to allow manager types, nonprofits, chief executives to kind of understand their information, summarize it into insights that allow them to make, actionable decisions. Third, we do a very collaborative and comprehensive design session with communities. So the target for this is really to talk to Dominicans, bring the insights to them, be like, hey, is this something that you actually want to do, something that you have the capacity to do, and something that you want to do, right? And that one involves talking to Dominicans very closely and understanding their pain points. And lastly is to execute on that vision, create sustainable solutions that are quick, and the target is really to help people in need. And with that, I will give it back to Paul.
Yeah, well, first of all, Hope, thank you. That was amazing. And I want to emphasize that Hope's being humble here when he says he had to code as a Peace Corps volunteer or had to learn to code. He didn't have to learn to code. He had a conversation with Scott where they discussed how frustrating it was to collect data on pen and paper. And then he just decided to take matters into his own hands and go learn to code. So he is certainly quite an individual. There aren't a lot of Hopes out there in the world, and we're lucky we found one. And now, Tiven, I think it's your turn to take over.
Thank you, Paul. Well, one of the things that really drew me to Puente was that overall spirit of collaboration and Puente's approach to development. You know, it's really similar to engineering. Engineers that work in teams to solve problems that improve people's lives. And Puente does exactly that. It truly is grassroots development. And for me, it has been incredibly powerful to work directly with the beneficiaries, those that live in the community, to design and implement solutions to very serious community level problems. Problems like not having access to water. That affects all aspects of daily life. It negatively affects people's opportunities for education and economic, and other problems like drinking contaminated water, which, trust me, it's not fun. Show of hands, other Peace Corps volunteers, who out there has had an amoeba in the DR? It can definitely sideline you for a few weeks. Other problems in the community is not having access to the bathroom or latrine. So imagine your children leaving your house at 2 a.m. to have to use your neighbor's bathroom. Or worse, imagine if you had an amoeba at 2 a.m. Other problems that we see are inadequate housing infrastructure. So people are living on dirt floors and they have leaky roofs. So our vision is first and foremost to scale into more communities and to tackle some of these challenges. And it definitely would not be possible to do this without our technology that Hope's worked very hard on. You know, we provide this same technology to other nonprofits, right? It's used by 200 people collecting data in 50. It has a lot of great features. You can use it offline. It's GDPR compliant. You can customize it to fit your nonprofit's workflow. It has data visualization features, and it even has a favorable pricing structure. If you can't tell, lately I've been on a few sales calls. But in all seriousness, once I saw the power of the software, I immediately knew its potential. And Paul, I think we have a special guest coming up that they're preparing downstairs.
That's right. First of all, thank you, Tivin, for that lovely sales pitch. I can tell you've been taking over my role of sitting on sales calls all day. So next, we have a very special guest coming on. Puente's finest intern, Ernesto the Pig, has agreed to do a special Q&A with us, and I believe that Scott is leading that one.
Yep. Yes, thank you for the introduction. Here is Ernesto, weighing in at 300. He has provided. Ernesto, can you hear me, buddy? Oh, nice. Okay, you can hear me. Great. So, are you the most spoiled pig in the world? Yeah. Oh, okay. You're kind of moving. All right, that's a yes. Yep. Do you eat, 17 gallons of food a week, Ernesto? Yeah. Okay. Yes, you do. Did you know that I want to eat you for our wedding and Chris Mighty won't let me? Oh, you didn't know that? Well, yes, I do want to eat you, buddy. But we can't. Yep. So that's Ernesto. He's this is our favorite animal. Gringo's a little jealous because Ernesto gets a lot of the attention, but he really likes bread. He eats a lot of food, and he is a great friend of ours.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Ernesto, for participating. You got to send us your W-9 so we can mail you the check we agreed on. And thank you, Scott, for conducting the interview.
Oh, of course. Ernesto wants to join the rest of it, I think.
Yeah, pour him a drink. All right, let's do a quick trivia piece on Ernesto before we move on from this. But in the chat, first response wins. How many pounds of food does Ernesto eat per week? And if we don't get an exact answer here, we're going to take whoever's closest. Okay. Do about 10 more seconds. Wow. Okay, this was heated. This was way closer than I expected it to be. Well, the correct answer is Ernesto eats about 120 pounds of food per week. So Ernesto consumes about 1 Cris Mare per week, which is pretty impressive. And the two people who hit the answer right on the head, I promise I did not tip them off. Both of my parents. John and Katie, congratulations. Really tough luck to Brody Smith with 118, Kathy David, who's showing a real knack for this at 119, and Chooch at 119 as well. You guys really got unlucky on that one, but they were great guesses. I think that both of my parents deserve a spin on the wheel due to their correct answers, and then maybe we can give another one to Chooch and Mama Chooch as well, since they were second place on this.
All right, let's do it. Oh, what is, yes.
Tough luck.
I get that one.
Deal.
All right, number 2.
All right, Dad, you're up.
Double it.
Ooh, okay.
Spin again. Whoa.
Here we go.
Dos cervezas, por favor.
Cheers to that.
And he's polite.
All right. Now, the Kappas on the hot seat.
Spin it.
Oh, look at that.
Tough luck, Chooch. Sorry about it.
It's the rules, Chooch. You got to drink a beer.
Did.
You made him special.
All right. That's awesome. Thanks, everyone, for all the trivia participation. This is really fun for us. So now I think many of you saw that just a couple weeks ago, we released our annual report from the 2020 year. Now, as a reminder, our year ends at the end of June. So when I say 2020, I'm referring to basically summer 2019 through 4 months ago. And that was our second year in operations. So this is really what we consider our year 2 annual report. We were really excited by a lot of the milestones we hit, and we've continued to make even more progress since. But before I get too far ahead of myself, I'm going to let Scott take us away and summarize some of the key highlights from the report.
That was great. Thank you, Raul. Yeah, as Paul said, we hope you had the chance to check it out. We are very proud of everything that we were able to accomplish, with your help and your support this past year, especially despite this COVID interruption. We'll talk about that in a second, but really proud of our entire team. So if you didn't have the chance to check that out, some of those highlights were our volunteer work doubled in size. And at the end of the year, we had 27 volunteers. And we really saw them grow and take the lead and actually start to design these projects and identify communities that needed help. And it was really powerful to see. And with new volunteers came new opportunities. And so we actually had the opportunity to develop a new program, which was our Health Promoters Program with Health Outreach Foundation. I know Jerry's on the call today, so thank you, Jerry. But that's a great program that we put together with them, and we have 4 volunteers that go around and they monitor 200 plus patients a week that participated in previous medical missions that were at risk for hypertension and or diabetes. And so these promoters go and they find these people in the communities, and it's extremely intense and very hard to do, but they know their communities well, and so they do it extremely well and efficiently. And so that's one of the new programs we rolled out, and it's had such a great impact thus far. Also, our internal team has continued to grow, right? Shout out to Tiven, who's here next to me. He came on board. Joey McCombs and John Spahn, they both came on board to start helping Hope with the tech, which was great because he was doing all alone for so long, and they've been doing an amazing job. Matt Albano, who some of you know, he came on and helped us with our accounting. And obviously Carly, who we mentioned earlier, she's doing an amazing job with grant writing and content creation. She's given us a great voice, and it's really powerful. So, a growing team all around, and we're really, really excited to see it. And the result of that is an increased impact, right? Some of you might have read, we have an increased impact of 400% from last year. And that is just truly insane. We've implemented hundreds of projects in dozens of communities. And we've also gotten some new animals, which you saw Ernesto out there. I hope you all enjoyed him. Sorry if it was a little choppy. We've also gotten a cat, and we've trained our dogs not to eat it, and that's a real challenge. We have a couple goats coming, so we're growing the team, the family, everything. It's really great. But on a more serious note, a lot of great projects and great improvements to our application. But I don't want you to hear it from me, because now we have a legit engineer on board. So you can hear it from a more credible source about all of those projects that we've been able to accomplish this past year.
Thanks, Scott. So last year we were able to do 58 bathrooms, and 96% of the recipients reported that they feel safer with their facilities. And that's because they now have a bathroom as part of their house that they can access 24/7. 3 different communities now have no more, or every house has a bathroom. There's no more bathrooms needs there. And what we're doing to sustain that is Chris Mari is working with the community leaders there to make sure that as they build new houses in those communities, that they build bathrooms with those houses.
Exactly. And a fun stat actually is Hope and I were in the last health cohort in the Dominican Republic. And we had about 30 or so volunteers, and someone can fact check me, but I am almost positive that cumulatively in our 2-year, service, we didn't construct 56 bathrooms. And if we did, it was slightly over 56. So that goes to speak of the power of putting these host country nationals in the driver's seat and really giving them the same opportunities we were given as Peace Corps volunteers.
Yeah, that's a great point. On top of bathrooms, we also did 66 cement floors. And it may be obvious, but I should say it is nearly impossible to maintain a clean house with a dirt floor. And so all recipients reported that their house is cleaner, and more importantly, that their health has improved as a result of their new floor. And that project has impacted over 250 people, and many of those are children. Lastly, we distributed 183 water filters, and those water filters are produced right here in country, and they're supported by Constanza Medical Mission. Thank you, CMM, for your support in this project. Water filters are a really good project for 2 main reasons. First, they reduce the risk of waterborne diseases. So those amoebas that we were talking about and other waterborne diseases, these filters can filter those out. And additionally, recipients don't have to buy bottled water. And this is huge because they can now save over $100 a year.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you, Tevin, for the summary. I hear Ernie in the background there. So yes, as these guys just said, you've probably heard the saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. This isn't as catchy, but what we've found is that it's really a, cleanable floor, a clean water source, and a clean bathroom that is more impactful for health. And that's why we're so excited that we've been able to extend those projects in particular across a very large audience. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that those costs are also those projects are also quite affordable. So we're able to work really efficiently using local materials and local labor that's provided by the beneficiaries, which is nice because it allows us to scale the projects more quickly, but it also ensures that the projects will be maintained after we're done. So when a local builds their own bathroom using materials they bought at their own hardware store, it's really easy for them to fix something should something go wrong. There are other development organizations that have done things like bring water filters in bulk from the United States. And the problem with that is that if a filter breaks, there's nothing you can do except for fly another one down. So we design our projects to be more sustainable and scalable by leveraging local contributions and making sure they have a piece in the game as well. The project costs, specifically with that local labor in mind, it only costs us about $400 to build a bathroom, $125 to build a new cement floor for a house that's living on dirt, and $50 to distribute a water filter. So if you're feeling generous, we have that matching program going on. Give us 2 bathrooms for the price of 1. Link is going in the chat right now. Anyways, with that all said, we're going to jump into a couple more quick trivia questions about the projects you just heard about. So, first, to start, how many cinder blocks, on average, are used to construct one Puente Patti? Brody with a strong first guess of 4 cinder blocks. Greg thinks one very big cinder block. That's a new model that we could explore. I see we're trending in the right direction. $226, very good guess. No one's gotten it yet. I'm going to keep it open for a little bit longer and see if we get there. We'll do a 10-second countdown. Feel free to submit a second guess. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. And I promise we are not rigging this so that all our parents win. But it looks like the Buggies are the lucky winners of this one. So, Tiven, take the stage. And it looks like I think your parents are going to be spinning the wheel here.
All right, cool. I've enabled sound.
Good luck.
I will actually see it. All right.
Paul, what was the correct answer?
Oh, I'm sorry. The correct answer, I should have clarified, 150 blocks.
Sweet. Okay. There you go.
Tough luck once again. As you're seeing, a lot of these prizes are really weighted in our favor. But please do keep guessing in trivia.
Thanks for the donation.
I'll add it to the donation I'm going to do already. That was
Even
fun.
better. We appreciate that. Thank you. All right.
I'm pretty sure Brody Smith is pretty close.
Was Brody? Oh.
Four is not a bad guess. It's not. It's in the ballpark.
It's in
There are
range.
4 walls, so maybe you get a spin.
I didn't word it correctly, so my fault, Brody. Let's Brody, you got another shot coming right up here. First one to get it wins. How long do our bathrooms last? Brody, we really laid that one up for you on a platter. I don't know, there's not much more I can do to help you. All right. Well, this one, there's not necessarily one correct answer, but our own Joey McCombs was the first person to get there by saying forever. We view these bathrooms as lasting as long as the house that supports them. So in theory, they're cinder block structures. They're very solid. They will last as long as a house does. We consider that to be about forever. In reality, some of you that guessed 50 years, 10 years, that might be more in range, but we're going to go with forever as the winning answer, which it looks like Brody and shout out Eddie Flood also getting it correct. Or I'm sorry, Joey McCombs and Eddie Flood getting it correct. Joey was the faster typer. That's the programming skills coming in handy. So Joey, would you like to spin the wheel, knowing what it includes?
100%.
All right, let's do it. Easy.
I can do that one.
Tough luck, Joey. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. And we have a third trivia question before we move on from this section. So gear up. This one you actually heard in Tiven's section, so we'll see how many people were paying attention. How many floors did we implement last year? New cement floors for families living on dirt surfaces previously. We are so close. If no one gets the exact number on the head soon, we will go with the closest guess. And as a hint, it is okay to use our annual report as a cheat sheet. Ten-second countdown. Oh man. No one gonna click that link and get there?
Made it as easy as possible.
Made it as easy as possible. We gave you the answer. You just have to click through and see it.
I think the 10 seconds are up, Paul.
I think the 10 seconds are probably up. The first guess that was very close, I'm going to go with as the winner, and that is Samuel Leff. Guessed 67. The correct number is 66, but we're going to give Samuel the win. Thank you to Matt Albano for submitting like 9 different guesses, all in the range of 72 to 61, and somehow still missing this. Samuel, are you game to spin the wheel?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Okay. Oh, my bad. Not trying to do a subtle hint to read this. All right, this is an easy one.
Dale, habla.
Scott, ¿y la novia dónde está?
La novia está con esto.
La prometida no la
Yeah.
Got a couple Peace Corps volunteers on the line. That's a little cheap.
Yeah. For those of you who don't understand Spanish, what that sentence said is, Scott, where do you get off? All right. So, and then also, you guys just heard a little bit about the projects and the physical impact we had last year, but we're equally excited about how our application has developed and is continuing to develop. We saw a lot more validation in the last year and are continuing to build out a new platform that's going to be pretty amazing. But I'm going to turn it back over to Hope to talk a little bit about where the app has been progressing and where we're going with it.
Sure. So, so I'll first start with just a couple app stats, and then I'll just kind of talk about a little bit about the design. So we have 5 partners right now, and we work in 2 countries. And we have 200 plus registered users on our application right now, which is really, really cool. But the coolest number out of all the app stats that we have is that we have 30,000 surveys collected from the communities that we work in, which is pretty incredible considering we're a pretty small nonprofit. And the impact we're making is extending in one country. So this is really, really cool that we're able to do this. Along with that, I'll kind of like go with another presentation regarding our team. So one big initiative that we've been making at Puente is having user experience at the center of everything we do. User experience is basically the study of how to make apps friendly, fun, and delightful to use. And so at Puente, we basically have been doing serious research into understanding how Dominicans like technology to be used in their communities. And then we act by building an application that's usable and friendly for those users. And the second thing we've done is build a team to move us forward. And that has been the biggest growth with the application as of right now, really getting a tech team around us to make everything work better. And so the tech team currently is Jonathan Span, who I'm not sure if he's on the call today, who's been our UX designer with our newest application that's coming around in a week or 2. Joseph McCombs, my buddy, another software engineer who's been immense in helping us grow as an organization, moving closer to like advanced tech. And Tiven, who isn't UX studied or understanding, but has taken it to like a fish to water, has really just jumped in the bag on the bandwagon, that's how you say that, to just understand how our users work and, help us actually devise questions for our application so that they're more user-friendly for for Dominican users. And so you can kind of see here a progression of how Puente is moving forward, right? The very first thing on the left is how Puente used to look, which is just a basically long list of questions that had the English and Spanish translations next to each other, which I can assure you everyone hated. In the middle is currently how the application looks right now. A lot more user-friendly, flows a little bit quicker. This is what Dominicans have been really jazzed about with how the application has been structured. But with the new team that we have, we've been able to make a very user-friendly, delightful, and an advanced application, which you kind of see here on the right, on the future. And this is a working prototype of the application as of right now. So this isn't making stuff up here with kind of how the technology is progressing. So thanks to your guys' support, we've been able to grow our team, and we're very thankful for that. I'll give it back to you, Paul.
All right, thanks, Hope. That's awesome. And another thing that we have been dealing with lately and that we've spent a lot of time on that we thought we'd update you guys on is COVID-19. Maybe you've heard of it. It's a sickness that is, impacting a couple people these days and becoming a large part of our lives. But it obviously was a different animal in the Dominican, and I am incredibly proud of how our team responded. But I'll let Scott go ahead and give more insights as to how that whole experience was and what we've done about it.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, so our operations have essentially stopped since March, since COVID hit the DR. But we saw COVID as another need that just needed to be addressed, with the community at large. And so immediately we found ways to help, asking our colleagues that work at these clinics and our colleagues at the hospital, and Chris Mighty, our country director, who used to work in a Zona Franca, which is like a warehouse for making boots when she was younger. She started making masks, and she was doing it on mass scale. It was really, really impressive, but she made 500 masks within a couple of weeks. We started distributing them to our at-risk patients and different health professionals around the area, because these were great solutions. They were short of an N95 mask. We weren't able to get them. So these washable masks were effective, right? We did the lighter test and everything was working really well. So we redistributed masks to lots of people, distributed a stipend to our volunteers immediately. They were very, very grateful for that. We got grants from our partners at Health Outreach Foundation, on the medical mission, and with that, we were able to buy 8,000 pieces of PPE, right? And we used internal funds as well. So thank you all for those. And then hand washing stations, right? When I was actually gone in the States, our volunteers pulled up all of our data, and they started identifying communities that had water 2 to 3 times a week, places where water wasn't super reliable all the time. So these hand washing stations served as authorities and specifically designated for hand washing use, one of the most effective ways to prevent COVID. And so it was really, really great to see people being really active and being really safe. We're really proud to report that we don't have anyone with COVID, and we're taking really, the precautions very seriously. And recently, I went into the community yesterday and we found 2 had strokes, and this is just 2 of many, right? I didn't visit many, but they had 2 had strokes recently and during COVID, and sadly, a dozen or so have passed away. And it's really a frustrating experience because they don't feel comfortable going to the clinic because they think that they're going to get COVID there. And so there's a huge disconnect, and these doctors aren't visiting their houses, obviously, because these doctors have their hands full. And so we're really working to ramp that back up. But, 6 months without that programming has had a huge impact on the community, because sometimes some people just need a kick in the butt, right, to get going. And so that's essentially what our volunteers would do. And it hasn't been able to be possible these past couple months. But yeah, then I can, Hope already mentioned a bit about how we use this time to improve our app, but it's been an interesting ride, but I'm really, really proud of our team in the fact that they can continue to find ways to support our communities and improve our organization and grow our team. So, although COVID has thrown a curveball in our plans, I think we've responded really well.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. I would have to agree. And I think you were a little bit choppy there for me for a second, so I'm going to quickly clarify what Scott said in case it was choppy for anyone else. But when our programming was suspended during COVID, one thing that we weren't able to do is go house to house and check in on people with serious health conditions, collect their vital signs, and get an update on how their condition has progressed. And during the time that we weren't doing that, we've found that about a dozen people that we previously monitored had a preventable or treatable condition come about that they ultimately died from because they weren't comfortable going to the clinics and there was no one coming by to check on their health. So it was an extremely sad process, but it also validates how important that program is. I think Jerry Smith's on the call with us, but Jerry's organization is our partner in that initiative. And we're very grateful for that because it's clearly had a massive impact in the community, and we hope to get started again with that as soon as we can. And now we're going to kick it over to Tivin again. Oh, wait, sorry. We're going to do one piece of trivia first. And this one, get your fingers ready. This is going to be a difficult question. What does puente mean in English? Wow, he did it. The guy who's been trying, he's running around his apartment in excitement right now. If you can't see, Mr. Brody Smith is our winner. He logged on today for a chance at winning a custom puente hat, and now he finally gets it.
Way to go, Brody.
Spin it, baby, spin it.
All right, here we go.
We're pulling for you, Brody.
Here we go. Oh.
Oh, so close.
That was what I wanted secondly, so it works out just fine. So,
A silver medal for Brody. We'll take it.
Have a beer.
Yeah, you can still drink a beer even though it didn't land on that, Brody, just for the record. All right, now I will transition it back over to Tivin. Tivin's going to kick us off, but we really wanted to make the last section here focused on where Puente's headed and why we're so excited about this year and what might show up on an annual report 9 months from now. So Tivin, take it away.
Thanks, Paul. So for our wash sector specifically, we're definitely going to continue our proven projects, those bathrooms, cement floors, and water filters. But we're also really excited to launch a few new initiatives. The first one is our wash training program. So this is similar to our community development training program for our volunteers, but it's going to teach country nationals specifically about our wash projects and give them the tools to design, implement, and monitor these projects over time. And within that training program, they're going to learn how to do our water testing. These are renowned tests that are used all around the world, and they can be used on site, and you get results in 24 hours. So this is going to be a critical piece for designing those larger scale water access projects. And right now, we're currently investigating new projects across 8 different communities, both here in Constanza and in Santiago. And now I'll pass it over to Scott to talk about our Santiago expansion.
Yeah, no, we're really active investing in these new projects. You know, as we keep mentioning, we have a proven methodology, and it's worked really well here in Constanza. And honestly, it's all due to your donations. You're the ones that helped us get going. Now we really rely on that generated revenue to support these programs, right? And so we want to scale this same model to Santiago, and we're very, very confident we can, especially with your help. And we actually got the ball rolling in Santiago a couple weeks ago. We trained 3 volunteers. They're focusing their efforts in a really large community called Cienfuegos. It's a very marginalized community there in Santiago that has a lot of needs. They've collected 350 records across 2 different communities. And get this, 90% of these interviewees don't have running water in their homes. And so can you imagine, especially now during the time of COVID, how are they washing their hands? How are they practicing these protocols that everyone's putting in place, right? You don't have running water in your home. So everything from chores to flushing your toilet, right, just becomes exponentially harder. And so we're really working on designing a solution for, 1,000+ people, and it's no easy task, but we're really confident we can with the help of Tivin here.
We have a really new, exciting group of volunteers starting here in 3 weeks. We have 11 people signed up via our website. They've actually toured the communities we're working in, and they really love the methodology and the work that we put in, everything that goes into these projects. And so they bought in, and we're really excited to start that new group of volunteers. And we're extremely, extremely, extremely excited to announce a new local partnership there with an organization called Techo. And Techo, which means roof in Spanish, they focus on housing infrastructure. And that's something that we haven't really focused on. And I'm talking about the full house itself, not the bathroom. But we haven't focused on that, but we've seen that need time and time again. So they've come up to Constanza to evaluate some of these communities that we've identified. And we're going to be working in Santiago to meet some of the needs that they haven't been able to address. So it's a really great collaborative approach. And you know, as we keep mentioning, that's what we're all about here. And a part of that collaboration, and very fortunately, is all of you on this call today. And so, you know, just to reiterate again, we really, really appreciate your support, and we wouldn't be able to, you know, have this proven out methodology without you. So, you know, really just appreciate all of this support, and we look forward to what we can do in Santiago.
Yeah, and guys, just to piggyback on what Scott said, some of you are probably not familiar with the Dominican Republic, but Santiago is the second largest city in the country. The population in the Santiago metro area is probably 20 times larger than Constanza at least. It's a massive area. Some parts of the city are better off than others. And we're focusing on the areas that have been extremely neglected over time. I could go on for a while about this, but Scott and Tiven have just been sending me videos that we're getting from our volunteers, highlighting how communities get water from open canalways where it's collected by trucks and then shuffled up the mountain. And all that water is just runoff from people washing their floors and it dumping down into sewers. And it's a really messy situation. So there's a lot that we can do there for a very large audience of people. And we're really excited about that expansion, but it's going to require a Herculean effort and a lot of funding, frankly. So we do appreciate any support you can offer. With that said, we're concluding the formal part of this interview. All of the informative stuff is wrapped up. And we have a couple more fun things for anybody who cares to stick around. To start, we're going to do a little bit of musical trivia to spin the roulette wheel. And then from there, we're going to open it up. Feel free to hop off mute, and it's going to be Q&A for anyone who has a specific question they'd like to answer. All right. If we're good on that, the music trivia, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to play a song on the piano behind me here. And there are 3 correct answers. So you can answer one, but you can't answer all 3. We're giving 3 separate spins of the wheel. Pick your poison. You get 1 point for getting the song name correctly. You get 1 point for getting the artist correctly. And then you get 1 point for naming a movie or play that the song is featured in. So Greg, it's not Radiohead. Sorry, I'm not as emotional as you. And by the way, yell at me as soon as we get the right answers. I don't need to play all day here. All right, I'm hoping at least that we have all the answers. So.
Oh, you're getting better every day.
Thank you. Scott had to listen to me doing a lot of learning over time. So shouts out to Scott and Chris for enduring a lot of bad piano. All right.
Yeah, listen to my Spanish.
Well, I'm scrolling up to the top to figure out the answers here. All right, first person to get the
First person
artist
song
was
is-
Chris Kieber. Special recognition also to Will Gilmartin for getting the cover of the song, but not the original artist. So Chris Kieber had it right with Frankie Valli. So, Kieber, if you're on the line, how about we spin the wheel?
Let's do it. Let it rip. Ah,
Wow.
like that. Absolutely.
Good prize.
How many do I get? Can I distribute to friends and family?
You
Nice.
We'll hook you up with a wholesale quantity.
There we go.
We have 2 Puente custom masks with our logo and all. So you'll get those when Paul comes back stateside in December, right, Paul?
It's a December delivery.
December delivery. Just in time for Christmas. Couldn't have a better present.
Exactly. All right. We have also 2 people were pretty close to the correct song title. No one actually did get the song title correct, but I'm going to go ahead and give the win to Connor Damaris. His guess was I Love You Baby, which is the most famous words from the song. The name of the song is actually Can't Take My Eyes Off You. But Connor, if you're on, you're up.
Let's do it. Hell yeah. Keep
2
it
in a
will be
row.
matching.
What are the chances? I can't wait. You guys are going to look too cute in your matching masks.
Maybe
yeah, we
Keeper
are.
can just share one of his so we can just, only get 2.
Yeah, we're cutting costs on this one.
That works.
And then I saw, my mom once again, or if we're going to allow a double winner here, guessed the play correctly with Jersey Boys. A wonderful musical. The pageantry, the costumes, the music, it's all great. So, Mom, you are up on the wheel again.
Again? Yes. Just what I wanted.
This is not rigged, we swear.
Everyone's a winner when that one pops up.
Exactly.
Remember, hope is a coder.
I know Hope wouldn't do that to me. I really wanted a mask, but it's okay. It's $20 more.
If he was a good coder, he would have added a couple zeros there, but yeah, we'll take it for now. All right. Well, thank you all so much. This has been seriously a blast for us. I hope you've had fun too. And we're going open Q&A at this point. So stick around if you want to hear, I'm sure some fun facts and anecdotes will come out of it. If you've got places to be, feel free to hop off, but we hope to hear from you with questions. So feel free to speak up whenever you'd like if you have something to ask about.
First, we can start. There's a question from my family about the materials we use, the local materials. So for our projects, the bathrooms are mostly cinder block, cement, all the rebar, the zinc, the bathroom, everything comes locally here in Constanza. The filters are made in Moca, which is near Santiago, and we have a driver that drives those back. So all materials can be found locally here, especially the small pieces. So again, like what Paul said earlier, they can be repaired and maintained over time.
Especially these floors, our floor project doesn't call for many materials because Constanza is a mountain in a valley, and a lot of these communities are on a hill, and the gravel beneath them is actually rock, and so we don't actually have to put in rebar, and we don't have to really reinforce it, and so we actually can do these bathrooms very, very cheaply here in Constanza. So if we were to take this floor example to Santiago, let's say, it could be a little bit more expensive because we would have to put in rebar to reinforce that and make sure it lasts 2 to 3 decades, right?
Yeah, that's great detail. Who's next? I see some of you unmuted. Don't be shy.
I got a question.
I'm just happy to see Will Corrigan's microwave for the whole night. So I want to thank him for putting. Oh, there's a person there too. Okay.
So I was curious. So now that you know Puente's been completing projects like for a number of years now, how is like maintenance and upkeep like becoming a factor in everything, right? Like 2 years ago it was all about completing new projects, but now you know, is there like a pull on resources, you know, on both like your time, everyone's work time, monetary resources to keep things up, and you know, how will that become like a bigger factor as you continue? Like 400% growth, right? That means if you continue at a rate like that, going to be a lot of upkeep.
It's a wonderful question, Keeber, and I'll start, and then I'm sure Scott and Tiven have better stats to add here. But the first thing to make clear on this is that Puente, we don't take responsibility for the upkeep of projects for the reason that you mentioned. And also because in the international development world, historically, you can look up hundreds and thousands of examples of foreign organizations that come in and basically force a solution onto some beneficiaries who didn't really want it and don't have a need for it and don't know how to maintain it. That's never what we want to be doing. So we require that whoever receives a bathroom or a floor or a filter, first of all, contributes 25% of the total cost. And usually that's not a monetary contribution, it's in the form of labor. So if your family needs a bathroom, you are the one that's outside building that bathroom using materials that we donate, or you're hiring a local laborer from your community to build that bathroom for you, and that's your monetary contribution. What that means is that when all the materials are local and all the labor is performed locally, the people who receive these projects know how to keep them up, fix them, and maintain them over time. So we actually don't spend any money and very little time and resources maintaining projects because we rely on the beneficiaries to do that. And the big question then becomes, are the beneficiaries actually doing that? Which I know Scott and Tiven have great data on, so I'll let them take over.
Yeah, no, that's exactly great points, Paul. We've really focused heavily on our monitoring and evaluation, right? So that's post-project. Every 3, 6 months, even a year, we go back and we resurvey the household to see if they're happy with the solution we implemented. And luckily they said yes. Most of, I would say, 97% of projects have reported that they're still in great condition, right? And that's really, really impressive because these water filters are ceramic, water filter that could break very easily. And, people could drop something on their floor and it could crack. But, because they put in their hard sweat and their labor, they tend to maintain it a little better than they would if someone just came in and gave it to them for free. Right? And so that's why we always have that 25% buy-in with the community. And that goes such a long way to making these sustainable, right? And making sure that they last forever.
Yeah, exactly. Just to add on that, our volunteer network is in charge of doing that monitoring and evaluation. And our network has doubled in the last year. So we now have 27 volunteers and it's continuing to grow. We're starting 2 new programs, one here in Constanza and one in Santiago. And then after those programs complete their 4 to 5 weeks, then we're gonna start the WASH specific program that I'm in charge of. And in that program, it's very heavily focused on the monitoring and evaluation. So those are the volunteers that are going to be in charge of going back to check on those projects.
Yeah, so to recap that, our early M&E data has shown that nearly 100% of projects are still intact and still having serious benefits for the recipients, which we're really, really proud of. So that was a great question, Chris. Glad you asked. Before we go on to the next freeform question, I see one in the chat that probably should be addressed. From my mother, she would like information on the first Puente wedding, which leads us to announce a couple big pieces of news. First of all, the wedding that my mom is referencing, I'll let Scott cover, but our executive director, Scott, and fellow co-founder, Chris Marie Gutierrez, recently got engaged. So if you have a glass, quick cheers to that. And then don't put that glass down, because we saw also this weekend that our own Joey McCombs, if he's still on the line, also popped the question. And for some reason, she said yes. So cheers to Joey as well. And I'll let you guys go ahead and take away the insights on that.
Yes, thank you, Paul. And thank you, Mrs. Anthony. We are very excited. I was very nervous to ask, but it's been a long time coming. We've been together for 3 years now, and it really is just such a great time. We have such similar hearts, right? We focus on the same thing, and we really want to achieve the same goal in life, and and that's really helped us get to where we want to be. But we're really excited about that wedding. We have very little plans in place. I'm really hoping there's a vaccine before we can actually have people down here in the DR. So maybe, sometime next year we'll have that wedding here in Constanza, which could be a lot of fun. But yes, we're very excited, and we're really excited to see where we go as a family.
Well, we're thrilled for you, Scott. She's a
Thank you.
wonderful person.
Yeah, she's way better than me. I don't know what she was thinking
Nope,
either.
you two are perfect together. I just wonder, does she think that Paul's going to live with you again at some point in your married life, or is that has that ended?
No, I'm not sure. And I wish she was on the call, but I think she enjoys, meeting all of our friends. It definitely is, such a different experience, right? Because all of a sudden she's just working with a bunch of Americans, and that's not what she was used to before. So it's a lot of English, a lot of cultural differences. But, through it all, she learns a lot about us and vice versa. She always takes time to really teach us, about the Dominican Republic, because a lot of the times we're just a bunch of gringos that really just don't know what's going on. And so,
Believe it or not,
any American that comes is welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you, Scott. And very beautifully said. Mom, I think to answer your second question there, it was actually a firm criteria for Crease that I'm not allowed to move back into that house now that they're engaged. So before Scott popped the question, he had to clear me out.
But Ernesto can stay, Paul, so I'm not sure what that means.
It's only
I was eating 125 pounds a week. That's funny. All right. Who else has questions? Otherwise, I'm going to start picking on people.
I have a quick shout out for Greg. Greg is on the call down there. I didn't even recognize you with your beard, Greg, but Greg is our partner at Health Outreach Foundation. I've worked with him for 5 years, ever since Peace Corps, and we really love working with them, and we do such great work together. They're having a really cool poker tournament this participate. I think buy-in's $25 and it starts at 7. Greg?
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me to this shindig. And yeah, sorry, quarantine beard. I use it because I realized in meetings I can just do this and kind of look off, and I can do that for 25 minutes, and like nothing else is expected of me.
Yeah, before quarantine, Greg actually looked a lot like John Hamm in Mad Men, so it's been a tough few months.
I think I look better now, thanks, Paul. And my beard destroys yours.
That's true.
But yeah, yes, we are having a poker tournament to raise money for PPE in the DR, specifically in Constanza and La Vega. So yeah, the Zoom opens at 7 to help people log in, but the tournament starts at 8, and it's a $25 buy-in. And if you win, you win. Like we're keeping most of it and sending it to Puente, but the winners will actually make money, and second place will get their money back. So,
and you're always welcome to then donate those winnings to Puente as well, of course. But
that is true. I will defer to the capitalist system and your individual wisdoms. But yeah, please join us.
Greg, that'll be fun. You can certainly count on me for that. And I'm not donating my winnings.
Yeah, never for a moment thought that you would.
I've got one more shout out. I see my cousin Ricky on the line, and Ricky, I just want to say I'm thrilled to see that you still don't own any shirts with sleeves. Don't let age change you.
This is Arizona, buddy. It's how we do it. Had to be sleeveless for you,
Why would
Paulie.
you when you look that good, buddy?
Thanks.
That's right.
That's my
I was not
godmother.
complaining. All right. Anyone else?
I've got 2 questions, Paul.
All right.
So one is a follow-up for Carly to see if she has any embarrassing story in country she'd like to share.
Carly, hope you finished the cider.
I did. But no, the one that like comes to mind first that my whole cohort makes fun of me for is like my Spanish was really bad when I started, and I was living with my host family for like training, so in the capital, Santo Domingo, and I was translating "It's okay." This is really only going to, I think, land with the Spanish speakers, but I was translating "It's okay" as "Es okay," which is not how you say it. Neither of those words is how you would say it's okay. You would say está bien. And my host mom never knew what I was trying to say. Like, I was just making all these cultural gaps, so I would always be saying it's okay. It's okay. And she had no idea what I was saying. So, which proceeded for like probably a year, really, until I got my Spanish
That's
up to par.
That's a pretty mild Spanish speaking error relative to some that I heard Scott say even after he'd been living there for 3 years. And Scott, I think actually there was one story that didn't make the cut regarding your Spanish misspeakings that the people would probably enjoy hearing.
Yeah, this is yeah, so I was, for the first 2 years, right, there's two words that I always would mix up. One is miedo, which means you're scared, and the other is mierda, which means, you know, poop. It's a bad word for poop. I don't know who's on the call right now. And I would always say this in front of my volunteers, right? During these charlas, I'd be giving sex ed charlas, and I'd be like, oh, like, you should be scared. And so I'd be saying, oh, you should shit, right? Like, you should just keep, you know, pooping. And they would all just laugh. They would all laugh every time I said the word miedo, just thinking I kept saying the word poop. And it went on for 2 years. Nobody told me that I was saying it wrong. Nobody cared. They just let it fly, and I said it, you know, group after group, and I just kept saying that word because it was for some reason funny. And lo and behold,
Yeah, it turns out that high school students still laugh when you say shit in front of them. So that was one key lesson that we've taken away. And Grandma and Grandpa, I'm sorry, I hope you were on, your volume was muted for that one. And then Sam, I think you guys had one more question, right?
Oh yeah. So I imagine that when you're, you know, going into a new community and you're surveying the community members and trying to introduce, you know, Puente and what you guys do, what you can offer, have you gotten any like crazy, or not even just crazy asks, but what's like the strangest thing if they're like, oh yeah, you know, like we do cement floors, we help you with water filters. What other random things have people asked for?
Oh man, this one could go in so many directions. I think Scott and Tiven are going to have the best insight, so I'll let them respond. But I have one in mind after you go that's related. That's going to be funny.
yeah, I mean, a lot of the times these communities are asking for roads, right? A lot of the time we have to enter these communities on dirt roads, and it really isn't the most ideal situation because all of that dust goes up into your lungs, and that can really cause those respiratory issues. But that's not super absurd. Obviously, everyone should have a road to and from their community. But we always get one-off, housing. Can you redo my house? Can you do this and that? And sometimes we just don't have the capacity to do it. But as in terms of the funniest thing, nothing really comes to mind right now.
Yeah, we try to avoid this. I'll talk a little bit about our process that tries to avoid this. So what we do, we send our Dominican volunteers who oftentimes live in these communities. And we first start with a meeting with, it's called Junta Vecino. It's a neighborhood association. So they're organized with usually a president, a secretary, a treasurer, and the likes. And so we have a meeting with the entire community, and we say who we are. We're a nonprofit organization. We work with the community, but the community has to meet us halfway. And we're going to first do a diagnostic survey. So we're going to ask volunteers to go door by door. Please answer your door. They're going to be wearing Puente shirts like this that you all can buy online at our website if you want. And so they tend to know when we're going to be there and what we're doing. And then after we, nice shirt, I see it. After we collect that initial diagnostic, we actually go back into a second community-wide meeting, and we show them the data. So we say, this many people don't have bathrooms, this many people responded to what's the biggest need in your community. Is it the river contamination? Is it the floor? Or is it the floors in your house? Is it the roads? And we say, okay, let's start working on a plan. And so we try to limit people just saying like, hey, build me a house, or hey, like do this crazy thing. And it's been working. But the other point that I'll say, and I'll let Paul, maybe he's got a better example. But the other point is, a lot of times it's not us, it's not Americans that are going and doing these. It's our volunteer network. And that's why we think that our impact has been so great. It's because it's not coming from this, you know, they see us, they see money, they say, what can you give me? You know, this kind of you know, we're foreigners. And so if it comes from the Dominicans, it's been much more effective. And so we try to stick with that plan. I'll pass it to you.
No, that's a great point, Tiven, and a very informative response. To give a slightly lighter example, this was not something that someone brought up in a survey, but when I had been in the DR for just a month or two, we took a meeting with what was described to us as a Rotary Club type of group in the city right next to Constanza called Tireo. And we go in and meet with these guys, and first of all, they're all dressed like they're, you know, out of The Sopranos. And we're sitting around this local church, and we asked them, you know, so what sort of projects in the community have you guys gotten together to do lately? And the two recent examples they came up with right away were, number one, someone had installed a slot machine somewhere in the community where a lot of people were losing money gambling. So they rolled up on that one night with baseball bats and beat the slot machine to death, and took that out of the community so no one was losing their money gambling. And then similarly, there was apparently one gentleman in the community who was known to be a bit of a home wrecker. And they went ahead and took care of that problem by making a public display of showing them how, showing the community how home wreckers are treated, and basically dragged this guy out of his house and beat him up in the street. So they gave us those two examples, and then we're like, yeah, so we'd love to work with you anytime. Let us know how your data could be useful. That was certainly an interesting one. I also saw a question in the chat real quick from Chris Kieber, which brings me to another funny Spanish-speaking gaffe that we went through for a while. But Scott, I don't know if you happen to have a bottle handy there, but our favorite Dominican rum is called Ron Barcelo. Ron Barcelo. And Scott's got a bottle right there. For years, and I mean this was long after I moved down to the Dominican Republic, I thought the rum brand was named that because the founder's name was Ronald Barcelo. Turns out that Ron is just the Spanish word for rum. So I learned that after I started talking about a guy named Ron with people, and they didn't understand, and that was pretty fun.
I want you to know I was this many years old when I learned Ronald Barcelo wasn't a person.
Thank you, Greg. I'm not the only one that thought that.
I thought he had an entire career. And I kind of like that he was Ronald, because that didn't seem like particularly Dominican. I had a whole backstory. So thank you.
Ronaldo.
No, I like that he's Ronald. I think that's even better.
His parents are big Charlie and the Chocolate Factory fans. All right. Well, last chance here. If you have a question, please speak up.
Has anyone taken over for Paul's singing and music playing at the local bar since he's left?
No, that has been just a void that nobody can fill. Honestly, it's closed right now, and I don't think they have any plans of reopening. The country is on very strict lockdown, so bars aren't open, and you have to be inside by 9 p.m. on weekdays and 7 p.m. on weekends, and so there has been no bar hopping or anything of that nature. So we had to find new hobbies. Right?
Yeah, that's one way to put it, Scott. The way that I prefer to say it is that they've left my seat at the piano open ever since I departed, which I think is a very nice way for them to honor me there. Oh, and we got one more question in the chat from Matt Albano, which if Crease is around, I think she's the best person to answer this. The question is, what animal will you take in next? And I do not count.
Any and all of them. We are constantly in the community, and I think Crease is going to take something home with us every time we go out. But there are 2 new goats on the way. They are about 2 to 3 weeks old, and the owner cannot release them until I think 8 weeks. So in about 5 weeks, we will have 2 new goats here. I call the Puente residence/office the granja, which means the farm, and it is growing.
not stop growing. You never know what Crease is going to bring home. She's brought home dogs, goats, a pig. Like it is ridiculous. But she always does seem to find good homes for them, even if it is our home.
Yeah, to make sure that you guys understand how real that example is, we never discussed bringing Ernesto home and actually owning a pig back when I was living in the DR at the time. I was sitting inside sending emails one day when I heard a squeal outside and walked out to find that Crease and Scott had brought home a baby pig, and that pig was trying to desperately run away because our dog Taina wanted to eat it. So that was how I met Ernesto, and it's very real when they say that every time they go into a community, they never know what Crease might come back with. All right, it is 7:30 now. We have kept you guys on longer than planned, but I just want to say one more time how much we really, really appreciate all of you joining. This just means the world to us. It makes us feel so special and loved, and you know, gives us the encouragement we need to keep going on this stuff. So really, thank you all so much for your support, financially, emotionally, and otherwise. And we look forward to doing another one of these in the future. Please email me with feedback, only if it's positive.
Yes, thank you all. That was really fun for us, and I hope you all enjoyed it. You know, couldn't really gauge the audience because a lot of mutes, but hopefully you got some laughs and you got some information, and you know, maybe we can continue doing great work here in Constanza and in the DR together. So thank you all. It was very fun.
Everyone have a great night. Thanks.
Thanks.
Connor wants an outro. All right, I'll play you guys out.
Closing time.
Wilbur,
Hey, Katie.
little left boob salute for the Dominican crowd.
It's got to be with the left hand.